Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. In today's video, I'm bringing to you my most disappointing reads of 2022. I should say that I read a lot of great books in the past year, but these are the books which disappointed me the most. It's not like these books are inherently wrong or bad in any way. I just felt like they did not meet the expectations that I had for them, or they were books which were not for me in any sense. So without any further ado, let's get into the books right away. The first book in this list is a non-fiction book by a very popular author, and it is A Walk in the Woods by Bryson. I read this book far back in the beginning of January, and I should say I was very excited and had really high expectations for this one because I know that the author is super popular and I know that many people have read many of his books. I also had comments from different people from the past 2 years asking me to read books by Bryson, and that's the reason why I went forward and tried this one. There was only one issue which I had with the book. It is the writing of the author. Okay, the things that the author said were really good, and the way in which he narrated his travel through the woods was really nice for me. But one thing which I completely hated and cannot accept at all in the writing of the author is that in order to sound funny and make the book feel funny, he completely kept on body shaming people from the beginning of the book until the end. Okay, I thought that it might occur once or twice in the book when I saw it for the first time, but I was not able to accept that he keeps on doing this as the one thing which can make people laugh, and I don't think it is okay at all. If it was done once or twice, I can understand that it is normal. I'm not saying that it is right, but I can understand that people are like that. We do comment on the bodies of people, and at times it also turns out as a humorous thing, even though it is not right. But the thing which I despised about the writing was that it kept on happening again and again throughout the book. I hated it to such an extent that I had two other books by the author which also I unhauled along with this one in the first half of the year. It is not like I have anything against the author or the books that he writes. It's just the style of writing which I did not prefer. So if you're a fan of Bryson, please don't be offended because I don't have anything against the author. It is just not a style of writing which I'm comfortable with reading. So I don't think I'll be reading any more books by the author in the future also. Let's just wait and see. But I wanted to put this one in the beginning of the list, not just because I read it in the beginning of the year, but also that it disturbed me a lot while I was reading it. So of all the books in this list, A Walk in the Woods was the book which irritated and annoyed me the most, hence it was very disappointing for me. The next one is yet another super popular book, and once I say the name of this book, I'm sure that many people are going to think that I'm a very cold person, but trust me, I'm not. I'll tell you the reason why I did not like it. And the book is The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by Boyne. I read another book by this author before this one, I think the month before I read this one, and it is My Sister's Name is Jessica, and I liked that book a lot more compared to this one. I can understand the thing that the author has done with this book, and I completely appreciate the thing that he has done, and the idea of explaining such a hard and brutal truth through the eyes of a child was really nice as a concept. But the thing which disappointed me the most after finishing this book is that the author built up great things for over 150 pages, and for the last chunk of the book, when we hit the climax, even though it was very sad, it did not affect me as much as I thought it would. I was able to see that there was something that is very sad that is going to happen towards the ending of this book, but it did not deliver the effect that I wanted from the book. I personally think that the author could have taken a little more time and built it in a stronger sense so that we can sense the loss properly as the author envisioned it to be towards the climax. I rated this one 4 stars, yet it was disappointing for me, especially because of the climax, and that's the only reason why it is on this list. The next one is a standalone YA fantasy book, and it is Gallant by Schwab. It was definitely one of my most anticipated releases for 2022, and I was super bummed after reading it because it did not live up to the expectations at all in any way. Here we follow a main character who's able to see some kind of ghost, but only within this mansion where she is taken into from an orphanage because she belongs to that family, and she gets to know that only after the death of her mother in that mansion. While she is taken to that mansion, she just experiences a lot of very creepy, horrible, gothic things that are happening in there. And I think the one best part about this book was that the author achieved the atmosphere that she was trying to build, and I was able to feel the cold and the creeps while I was reading this book. But apart from that, I don't think the execution was that well at all. The main character here cannot hear as well as speaks, so she uses sign language as a form of communication, and I think that was the thing which was very creative about the author and inclusive also. I think she did it in a really good way, and I did not feel like I was not able to understand what the character was trying to express at any point inside the story. But apart from that, I think the plot of the series itself was a bit murky, and only towards the last fourth of the book or so many things started happening, and it just felt like there was not enough time for all those things to happen properly in a very organic way. So because of those reasons, I did not find this very impressive, and ultimately it ended up being disappointing for me. The next one is a book which I have very strong feelings towards, and it is The School for Good and Evil by Soman Chainani. I was expecting a lot from this book also because it was a really interesting plot for me, Basically, I can say that there was one element only about this book which annoyed the hell out of me, and it was the school of good compared to the school of evil. Okay, the school of evil was done really well, and the person who gets into the school of evil was done in a very horrible way. The school of good was really horrible, but the person who gets into the school of good was done in a really awesome way. I can easily say that the school of good just looked like a place if a Barbie movie had a collision with a Disney movie. It was that too much in its tone, and I felt like the author was trying too hard not to make it look that good and luxurious. It just felt like it was not at all natural in any way, so I hated the whole time I was reading anything inside the school of good that it annoyed the hell out of me. And I can easily say that if not for the school of evil and the character who goes to the school for good, I would have easily torn this book to pieces. I would have shredded it and burnt it and seen its ashes, because I hated and despised the setup for the school of good to such a hard extent. Okay, it just felt very hard, and it just felt like plasticky to me, if you ask me. You can just feel the amount of hatred I had for that particular place by the tone that I'm speaking in itself, right? I usually don't have such hard feelings for any book, but this one just annoyed me so much, and I just finished the book because I wanted to see where these both characters are going to end up in, and I wanted something very horrible to happen to the school of good because it was not at all a good place. Okay, I truly don't want to continue on reading this series at all, and at the same time I know that there's a Netflix adaptation which just came out in the past 2 months. I thought of watching that adaptation sometime back when I finished reading the book, but when I think about it right now, I just don't want to get into the world and experience anything from it at all, so I'm not going to watch the movie also. If you're a person who likes this book or this series as a whole, please don't take me in a wrong way, because I did not like it. It does not mean that it is a bad series in any way. It's definitely not a thing for me, and I just wanted to get it out there properly, so please don't be offended. But The School for Good and Evil was definitely a very horrible book for me to read. The last book in this video is probably my most disappointing read from 2022. I said that A Walk in the Woods was the one which annoyed me the most, and I also had very hard feelings for A School for Good and Evil, but I did not have high expectations for both of them as much as I had for this book. And I'm sure that once I tell the name of this book, many people are not going to like this video, because I know that this is very much beloved, and I also love this author and their writing so much. So if you're a fan of this author or this book, please don't get offended, because I am also a huge fan of the author and her writing, and it is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Okay, I did not like this book at all. I have read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which is basically a classic for me, and after that I read Malibu Rising in the beginning of this year. After reading both of those, I went into this with sky high expectations. Okay, and trust me, I wanted to love this book so much, and I tried so hard to love it, but again and again one thing kept on happening, and I did not like the main character Daisy Jones at all from the beginning to the end of the book. There's this one dialogue that is said by one of the other characters inside the book where they say that such great talent is wasted on a person like Daisy Jones, and I completely agree with it. Okay, I know that many people love this book, and I can understand some of the ways in which it can attract people and why people might like it, but I did not like it at all. Okay, I like a few of the side characters in here, and I also love the writing of the author just like I've loved before, but as a whole I think the main character Daisy Jones is the person who matters a lot more about this book compared to anyone else, and I think that's the reason why I hated this book, because I did not like her at all. Okay, she just seemed like a very irresponsible and not nice person in multiple levels for me. The energy or aura that she was emitting from the beginning of the story until the end, there are some good things that she does by the end, but I don't think that all of those things can compensate for all the other things that happen in the beginning of the book. I can understand that like any other main character, she also has a lot of issues and she has been through a lot, but that doesn't mean that she can do whatever she wants and not care about how it can affect other people. So I did not like that at all. At the same time, when a person has that huge talent, I think it needs to be nurtured and protected properly rather than just being very lethargic about it, and I don't like that aspect about the character at all. So because of all these reasons, I definitely did not like Daisy Jones and the Six, and I'm sure that I'm going to read all the other books by this author in the future, but I did not expect to not like this book to the extent to which I did not like it. I know that it is a very favorite book for so many of you guys. Trust me, I wanted to love it, I tried to love it, but I just could not. So the last and final book inside this video is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which was also a very tough decision for me to take. So yes guys, those are all the most disappointing reads of mine from 2022. I did not expect some books to be in this list at all when I started reading them, but I'm very sad that they ended up being here because I had super high expectations for them. And if you did have any disappointing reads from the last year, please do let me know down in the comments, because I'd like to know them. And if you did enjoy watching today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. And if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.